So
Hey folks, Jason Watkins, Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Just wanted to remind you, if you are not already a subscriber to our show and to this page, please go ahead and hit that subscriber button just below my screen right here. It's so important to us. A while back, we already hit our 4,000 plus watch hours to be monetized, but we're still short on subscribers. We got to get to 1,000. So hit that button below on the right side right there. See it? Hit it. Folks, Jason Watkins, Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Just want to remind you that the next time you need a hat, jersey, or memorabilia of your favorite team, you can get up to 65% off everything on Fanatics just by using our link, hofmedia.us/fanatics. Just click the button at the bottom of the screen and shop as normal. You'll get up to 65% off everything in the store, and we'll get a small commission for everything you buy. It's a win-win.
Let's go!
Welcome back to the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. I am with the Lone Star College Football's Christian Herrington. And if you love college football, you are definitely in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button. Like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Christian Herrington, got to be happy. You got to be pretty happy right now.
Yeah. I was a nervous wreck for the last 30 minutes of that ball game, but
it almost looked like they might just do what they do.
I was telling my dad it's almost comical how the script is wrote, and it's almost like it's been wrote and then the game is played because it happens week after week. But just real quick, LSU did just get a 2-point conversion.
I just see that, and my eyes got big right there. I'm sure everybody saw that on the live stream there, or our one person that's in there so far. Who we got in here with us? Oh, here we go. Go Irish. Oh, Coach Roybal. What's up, man? How you doing?
Wow.
Notre
Dame played a good game today.
They did. Sure. They did, man. They just beat the brakes off of Clemson. Georgia makes a big statement against Tennessee today. The score was not even as close as Coach Roybal, you're right. No Final Four it's always good when Alabama gets beat, man. It's always good when Alabama gets beat.
Yeah, the question is though, so if they have two losses in the SEC, but technically they could still, if they made it to the SEC championship and won, I bet the committee finds a way to put them in.
But and then they still have a tough game against Mississippi next week. I would say LSU winning today probably means that would mean that you're going to end up you're going to get an Alabama win there. But my thought is that LSU is proving right now that they're really the best team on that side. Look at the way they beat the hell out of Mississippi last week. So
yeah, they did.
My thought is I don't see any way that Alabama, you can really, man, I've been saying it. They look terrible. I said it on your show that day. They looked terrible. They've been looking bad the whole time. I'm with you, Coach. I don't think so either. Hey, there's Logan in the comments.
Yeah, I see that.
You can't be on the show,
hashtag.
You can be in here. Sick.
I know it.
Here we go with that. I'm gonna go ahead and erase him out of here. No, just kidding.
I think I think LSU. There's a lot after that first CFP ranking. Everybody was like, "How in the world did LSU sneak into the top 10?" And I think that they've shown, their first loss of the season came in week 1 to Florida
And they
State.
lost it on
That's
the weakest, weirdest thing ever, too.
And it's
I mean,
week
they did
1.
everything they could wrong in that game and still should have won it and missed an extra point at the end of the game. You know what I mean? They should have been.
Also just it's a script. Like, it's your first year. You've been hitting each other all off season or all summer or whatever, and now it's your first chance to go hit a real opponent, and things happen. But who did LSU lose to later on in the season?
It was Tennessee. They got beat pretty good by Tennessee also. Yeah. That being said, I mean, they're in a better position to get back to the playoff now than Tennessee is after losing the way that they did today. If you start looking at Coach still hates Brian Kelly. Yeah, I get it, Coach.
Does anybody like Brian Kelly?
Nobody likes Brian Kelly. I don't think they like him at LSU, even though they're winning. You know what I mean? So it's, Coach, I'm with you. I know, he says he'll find a way to screw it up. Generally, they do. They're in a better position, though. That's what I'm saying. When you start to look at it, even though Tennessee beat them the way they did, what have they got left in their schedule that's going to make you say, yes, they definitely belong in this playoff and we want to see them play Georgia again? They didn't do anything today as far as, Josh Heupel in Tennessee really missed an opportunity, if you're asking me, to show something. At least if you lose that game and on the road, you need to show that you can do something. You were talking about it off air, about the way that they kind of stayed backed up and a lot of punts, a lot of, weird stuff but that defense, that Georgia defense is flat out dominant, and it looked at the part today. And I just don't see anything that Tennessee really did that makes you say, well, I definitely want to see them play Georgia again. Now, could they come back and beat them the next time around? Maybe. But will they get that opportunity? I don't know, because you've got two undefeated teams. You've got two undefeated teams that are still left out there. You've got a team in Oregon that looks like they are, every bit the part after their loss to Georgia earlier in the season, the first week, obviously. And then, of course, you've got TCU still undefeated. They looked pretty ugly today for the better part of that first 3 quarters, and then finally kind of turned it around there too. Can they go ahead and win out, though? They've got your boys next week out in Austin. It's
that's gonna be
and then they still have to play Baylor in the Baylor game.
They still have to play.
That is their biggest rival, and that game always seems to go the way it shouldn't.
Yeah, I will say on the Tennessee Georgia game, like we said, there is a part of that game where you look at it 27-13, and it really feels like Georgia won that game by a lot more.
Yeah.
But in the second half, Tennessee outscored them 7-3. Like, really? Things like Georgia started fast. Tennessee made the adjustments at halftime as far as their defense went, and their offense wasn't able to catch up for what their defense gave up in the first half. But I would say there's a lot to look at that game and think, all right, Tennessee, you really screwed it up on this one. And they did. Like, man, a rematch of that game could actually be fun because if Tennessee doesn't come out so flat on offense and their defense just sucked the first half, I mean, that could have been a 13-10 kind of game.
And the thing is that Tennessee defense, I mean, it hasn't been great. And they still to hold, but that tells you how Georgia's offense isn't. That the reason that I was saying coming into it that I could see Tennessee winning it, because I didn't really feel like anybody was going to stop that offense, and I felt like Georgia's offense wasn't going to be good enough to go and put up 40. If you even gave Tennessee 35 points, can you go out and put up 40? It was absolutely a dominant performance on that Georgia part. Defensively, though, I mean, Hooker, how many times did they go 3 and out, Christian? I mean, it was just like time after time, it seemed like. I mean, it may have been more time or less times than it seemed like, but every time they got the ball backed up there, they was 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out.
5 plays, 3 plays, 4 plays.
Yeah.
11 plays in a punt, turnover on downs, fumbles. Yeah, turnover on downs to start the game. No, to end the game, they turned it over on downs. Yeah, and Philip has Georgia's defense was phenomenal. I like the whole game. I mean, you take an offense like Tennessee and you only give up 13 points.
Yeah, I think they were averaging like 500 yards, almost averaging 500 yards a week.
Their offense is averaging 49.4, and you held them to 13. I mean,
right. That's dominant.
You can't ask for anything better than that. Logan mentions Ohio State sputtering against Northwestern. I will say, and I picked Ohio State to actually cover that game. I did not realize the weather.
It was pretty ugly.
Like 40-mile-an-hour wind.
Crap in Chicago, man.
Yeah.
They're talking about putting the Bears in a dome because of it after all the crap, the way things have been going. I don't know. It's kind of a weird deal, but listen, man, you just never know. In the Midwest, you're going to get some weird weather. Again, Ohio State, the one thing I'll say about Ohio State, and I mean, I think that they're phenomenal as far as their offense is concerned. They have receivers just a freaking ridiculous amount of guys that can go. In Jigwa, that you've got Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, but and Coach Royboy says they're overrated. Are they overrated, Coach? I don't know. We wouldn't know because they haven't played anybody except for your boys at the first of the season, and I mean they should have, with the way that Notre Dame was playing at that point of the year, you would have expected Ohio State to blow them out. It was at the shoe. There was no reason why they shouldn't have. They didn't. And then even, now they did look pretty good. They did look pretty good in that game against Penn State last week at certain times. And I mean, that's when you go into Happy Valley and get a win in whiteout condition kind of deal. That's a big deal. That being said, with as powerful as this offense is, and then the defense being improved as it is, I start to question, what is Ryan Day? Because we haven't seen them really do much. They made that playoff in the COVID year when a lot of people didn't think they should. And then, of course, they get beat. I don't think ever since Urban left, I don't look at Ohio State the same way. I don't, because I don't believe that Ryan Day has proven that he's the coach that everybody thinks he is.
No, I think he's good. Like, he's recruiting well.
And that's easy. It's Ohio State.
I think if Texas, here's my thing. Ohio State's downfall will be whenever Texas or Texas A&M actually start winning. Because if we could recruit better in-state and quit letting Ohio State come in and get our receivers, Ohio State won't be as good. And Texas and A&M, the way we recruit in-state actually affects a lot of the country, because Bama, LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, they're coming into Texas and snagging some of our top talent. And
everybody does. It's Texas. Everybody's going to come in and get the better players. And especially when it's, when you've got, look, Oklahoma gets a lot of the best guys out of there all the time. That's what that's why Oklahoma can stay, in the position that it's in. But when you start looking at it overall, you have to expect that these guys, they're going to go into Florida and get them, and they're going to get them out of Texas, because that's where the most fertile recruiting, and the most fertile recruiting grounds is where they're going to be. So when you're winning and you're Alabama, of course you're going to go get them. And the same with Ohio State. Look at Quinn Ewers, went to Ohio State first, and then got buried on the depth chart before you were able to get him back there for Texas. Big deal for that. Let's see. USC losing by 1. It's obviously very early in the game, but they are losing to Cal.
I thought you said they lost. I was like, really?
They're losing. No, it just started. It just started. It's the
second quarter.
7-6, 14 minutes in the second quarter left.
How about Michigan losing 17? Or they were losing 17-14 at half, and they finished 52-17 to cover the spread. Logan picked that game. I think we both.
And Bryce and I were arguing about this a lot. I don't know if you saw the show yesterday, where I think the Big 12 or the Big 10 is trash. I just think it's trash. I don't think that they have anything outside of those two teams, Ohio State and Michigan. Who have they played?
Michigan. I don't know. Penn State. I
he was
think Penn
telling me all
State's
about
pretty
Illinois.
good.
Illinois got beat today by a
Illinois, yeah, they
crappy
let me down.
Michigan State team. Crappy Michigan
They let me
State
down
team.
bad.
Yeah, and so to me, I don't. For all the money that they're getting, yeah, Rutgers is tough. Right, Coach. They're the best. They're the best. That New Jersey Rutgers feel, they're so good. Honestly, though, all that money that they're going to have with this new contract coming through, you would hope and expect that some of these teams are going to get better. That being said, you got to get out of the Stone Ages with this offense, these offenses, and to the people that think that Brett Bielema is like some answer to whatever problem we're talking about, I think the guy's trash. He showed when he went to a real conference, when he left Wisconsin, goes down to Arkansas, they ran his ass out of town quick because all that, you're not going to play that Big Ten style of football and just play defense and not have any offense. If you look at LSU, they were still trying to do that with Les Miles. It didn't work. They had to run him out of town before that turned around with Coach O. And then, even Alabama, as much as they love to run the ball, if it was up to Saban, he would never throw the football. He knew that he had to change it around or they were going to stop winning too. So, yeah, and I didn't believe in Illinois before today. I certainly don't believe in them now. And when Cliff Kingsbury's freaking right about you, something's up. So, because I'm not a big believer in old Cliffy, but
I actually picked that game, and I did pick Illinois, even with a 16.5-point spread, but only because Michigan State just suspended like almost 10
8 guys.
That's the only
8
reason.
Guys.
Yeah, it's like 8 guys. And
did
so
you
I was like,
see
okay,
all that
I can
too
see
in
Illinois.
the tunnel? That was insanity.
Yeah. And there were at first, I don't know how it is now, but at first there were so many people trying to stick up for Michigan State. Like, oh, well, that guy should have been skipping through the tunnel. I'm like, okay, you should be grown up. Take your L. Let the guy. I saw a thing, and it could just be a rumor. I saw that his dad was traveling on the road, and he was able to stop by and just for the end of the game. And so he was trying to go get out so he'd go see his dad before he went back on the road. And I don't know if that's true or not, but even if that isn't true, and he's just trying to get to the locker room, maybe he's got to pee. I don't know.
Who cares?
Even if he was talking
they
crap,
won the game and he's happy. There's no reason to try to kill him with your football helmet.
You had 60 minutes on the field to be as aggressive as you could be and play football.
Absolutely.
And you lost, and they're just a bunch of crybabies. Yeah. And you know what? I hope every player that swung or was in on it, honestly, every player that didn't grab their teammate and pull them back, they should all be suspended, I think.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, and Harbaugh has his moments where he goes a little overboard with the things that he says. When he was talking this week about he hopes and expects that there should be criminal charges in that game after that game.
Oh, yeah.
There should be. That is well beyond a normal fight between players and stuff. Those things happen. But we're talking about taking off your helmet and beating the crap out of the guy with it. Could have easily killed him. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous stuff. Ridiculous. There's no place for that in sports at all, particularly in college sports. I mean, good grief. And I get it. It's a rivalry. They're same in-state rivals, all that stuff. But, man, that's insanity. It's insanity.
It's one of those things where, like, you love to see, like, passion, but there's a part where passion becomes
stupidity,
like aggression. We want aggression,
stupid
but
stuff.
not that.
Man, you've been to the Red River. I've been to the Red River before, and you don't see that. As much as UT and OU hate each other, you do not see that crap a lot at the state fair. First off, they've got enough security around that it's not going to happen. But there's some level of respect, even though we hate the hell out of each other. Yeah. There's some level of respect between each other that you have to have. And
there's also got to be a part where we acknowledge, as passionate as we are as fans, this is a game. It is a game at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Like, it's a game, and we love the game. We hate losing the game, but it's a game. And those players, a suspension isn't enough. Like, I don't think they should be playing ball.
They should never play. The guys that did what happened in that tunnel should not play anymore. You're done with football, bud. You're lucky if you don't end up in prison over that. But let's move on from that. Let's move on from that.
Yes.
That's the ugly side of college football. Again, folks, if you're here, everybody can celebrate a little bit, except for me. I don't think we have any Alabama fans in here, but Coach, it is not a war. And so Coach Roybal is a high school football coach for a long time here in New Mexico, but also at Dallas Skyline. He's been in some big games in Texas football. Sent a lot of players to all these schools we've been talking about, for everywhere from Oklahoma, Texas. I mean, as far away as I'm pretty sure, Coach, didn't you send a couple of guys to the Big Ten also? They must have been like your worst players, huh?
Yeah, Coach. Drop in the comments some of your some of the players you've coached. That's interesting.
Yeah, really was cool. He was at Skyline for a long time, winning coach. And then he ended up here in New Mexico. He was my first place at Notre Dame. I know you sent some of them over there. A lot of those guys. He ended up in New Mexico over here, and it was my first official sports editor job. He was probably one of the funnest guys to hang around with. This dude talks more trash. The stuff he's saying in here, I've been trying to get, Coach, if you would come on the show, I would love it, because he's a trash talker. Yeah. It's fun. And I mean, it's all in good fun and everything else, but there's some of the stuff I probably wouldn't even be able to talk about. But it was pretty funny, man. I remember one time he was talking about these coaches in Texas, and they have these coaching meetings before and after the seasons and stuff. And one of the coaches came in and, "Oh, well, so-and-so had another banner year, didn't you?" And they did. And then, of course, it starts a fight. Texas football is a different animal. When I left there, I went to Midland, Texas, and that's where Midland Lee, where Cedric played, and then of course Permian. That's the whole Friday Night Lights deal and stuff like that. It's a different deal over there, and even all the way down to the small schools, it is just Texas football is real. It's there's not really better high school football anywhere in the country, and I know there's some good high school football around the country, but Texas high school football is the real thing. A
big high school football fan, Logan, actually will get off. He'll be running all day at work, so he can get off and drive 2 hours to go watch West Rusk play football. I'm like, dude, I love football. I like high school football too, but I'm not. If I had to work the next day, I'm not all. Really,
I tell you, I had a lot of fun when I was there in Midland. We would go when the playoffs start, because they go on forever in Texas. I spent more time in the Metroplex covering high school football week after week after week, and it was just, man, it was a lot of fun. We spent a lot of time, and it was right about the time that they built Jerry World. I don't think it was quite there yet, because we were still at the old Cowboy Stadium a lot, which is that place was trash. At the end of that place was a hard place to watch football. The air conditioning sucked. It was such a weird deal. But man, I just remember those weekends of watching game after game. I mean, they start at like 9 o'clock in the morning and continue on until 10 or 11 at night. They're playing. I loved it. It was a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun. All right. I think
to go.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say I got to actually go watch what year? I guess it was 2020. Quinn Ewers was it South Lake? Him and Cade Klubnik played against each other in the 6A state championship game. I got to go watch that game. And Cade Klubnik absolutely was the better quarterback in that matchup. But the funny part
that's the whole thing. Everybody's screaming for Klubnik, but he hadn't, and I don't know what Dabble's deal is. I mean, I guess now maybe he can give him a shot.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. He did, but then he came in through one pick and yanked him. But Michael Taft.
Go ahead.
I was going to say Michael Taft picked off Quinn Ewers in that game with like the most insane one-handed catch. And now he was playing a lot tonight for the Longhorns, and so it's kind of fun. That's why I like high school football, is just watching the recruits,
seeing which ones kind of make it up to the next level. Yeah, and that was one of the things that, I mean, those guys, Coach Roybal and his staff, they were all Texas guys. So it was different for me, growing up in New Mexico and all that. And I went to a school here in New Mexico that they win all the time. We got 30 state championships. but it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing as playing in Texas and doing what you do over there. And so those guys would talk about all these players. And then he even had a couple of dudes on his staff that had played at Texas. There was Coach, what was that defensive end coach that you had? That I guess I think he was Ricky Williams' roommate or whatever for a while. What was his name? Put that in the comments if you remember.
Wow.
That some of these guys, and then he had a guy that was the offensive line coach and he played at OU on Josh Heupel's team. So I mean, a lot of these guys, but they were telling stories about some of these cats all the time, just like Antoine Kirkhughes. Yep, that dude was a stud, man. Defensive end at UT. That dude could play, man. And I remember he lined him up against was it Eddie Jackson coach, and they ran a race. Now Kirkhughes was a big dude, right? A big dude, and Eddie was one of the fastest guys in the state, and Kirkhughes blew him off the field. And this was 2 years after he wasn't playing anymore. They ran a 40 race, and he just smoked him. And this is the kid that's one of the fastest kids in the state in New Mexico, and he hadn't played in 2 years and wasn't in great shape, and he just worked him. There's a difference in athletes that go to UT and Oklahoma and places like that, and yes, he was in the NFL for a while. There's a difference, a level of athlete between those guys and the guys that you think, oh yeah, he's a pretty good high school player. It's a different deal, man. It's a different deal. But so obviously, folks, if you enjoy what you're watching here, enjoy the content that we put out to you, please hit that like button. Make sure that you subscribe before you get off the page here on the YouTube page. I know some of you guys are watching us in Facebook. I appreciate that as well. Kind of jump over to that YouTube page, Coach, and hit that subscriber button if you would. Share us, let people know about the show. We appreciate it. Let's see. Let's go back to this scoreboard just for a second here. I wanted to look at this. So let's see. Yeah, Arizona State, UCLA with a 14-10 lead over Arizona State. Obviously, you had earlier in the day, we talked a little bit about Ohio State winning 21-7 over Northwestern. TCU sputtered to start the game, ends up winning 34-24 over Texas Tech.
And honestly, I think Tech handed it more to them. Like, if you look at that game, the score was 20.
You're gonna have one of those. You're gonna have one of those games, no matter how good you are. Though it seems like to me.
No, Tech ran the same plan that they beat Texas with. They went for it on fourth down. It just TCU got the stops. It was like 20-17. Tech goes for it, 4th and 1, gets stuffed. TCU gets the ball and plus territory, scores. Next drive, Tech 4th and 1, goes for it, gets stuffed. TCU gets the ball. And so that's all the difference is sometimes those analytics, you look at them and you say, yep, we're going for it. And sometimes it pays off and sometimes it don't. And tonight it didn't.
Yeah, and I feel like TCU, they didn't have the best game plan. I mean, because Texas Tech, what they did very well today, to me, was played good defense. And it looked to me like Duggan was off a bit. Some of those throws that you expect him to kind of make, he didn't really make them today. Obviously, but the heart of a champion kind of comes through at those times when you are struggling. And these, they found a way to kind of get back into it and get that win. Big win for them. Obviously,
let me ask you about this A&M and Florida game today. What did you think about that? Like, I was watching it, and it honestly, Texas A&M might have played, except for the second half, their first half, they played a really great half of football. I mean, other than Anthony Richardson breaking like a 65-yard touchdown run, they really were containing that pretty well. And then in the second half, just kind of like Texas just has no offense in the second half. And they play Auburn next week, who right now is tied 33-33 going into overtime with Mississippi State in Auburn.
Go figure that too, and just like that, the Pirate needs to win that game, man. Come on. Honestly, I mean, you would expect. Hold on, real quick. I'm trying to see.
I'm not mad.
I can look at this over there.
Logan was talking to me earlier, and we got a week of football where Texas wins, A&M loses, and Oklahoma loses. Baylor wins. That's a pretty good. The Cowboys are on a bye week, so I ain't got to worry about them tomorrow. That's a pretty good week of football.
Listen, I'm sure it was a pretty good week for you guys. I'm not all that happy about it, but and we need to get into that a little bit as well. Obviously, I tell you, yeah, and I don't know. With as far as the A&M, you asked me about A&M. Yeah, they did what they generally do though. At the they get in these games, they have a chance to probably win it, and then they just. And this is the whole deal. And when you're in year 5 now, Jimbo Fisher, and you have bought the farm as far as all these players, the entirety of that, there's not a single position that should have a problem at this point when you're recruiting at the level that they're recruiting at. And there's something else aside from that. There's something within the way that they're doing things down there. Obviously, there's no discipline among these guys. If you're smoking weed in the locker room of all places, I mean, I don't have necessarily a problem with them smoking weed. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, I know that's what all of that. It's
the not fact even that a home game. You can't even hide it.
Yeah, well, they get their own planes. It's not like they're freaking going through regular security. But
I mean, there's like you're in another locker room. Like they're gonna smell it. Even if you didn't get caught, they're gonna smell it and be like, "Hey, somebody in your locker room is smoking it."
It's something, yeah. That just tells you that the culture that they have around there right now is absolute trash, and so there had to have been other signs before this season that you're not seeing that. You know what I mean? But yet you extend him to $95 million extension. Because you're worried about that and I don't even know that was an actual thing, or if they had just kind of floated that out there that LSU wanted him to come in. LSU has never said publicly that they were actually in the running for Jimbo. Were they? Probably, yeah. But again, I would feel like
more of like an old comment. I think that Jimbo had made comments years and years ago that LSU was one of his like a dream.
Then they wanted him for a long time. I know that at the time, whenever he went to A&M, that was kind of that in between time. They had just got in Coach O. They were starting to do their thing there. It was just kind of a weird timing, or else he probably would have ended up being there. I think he's going to be at West Virginia. Coach is what they're a lot of the big talk right now is that they're trying to buy him out. They're trying to find the right buyout for him. I don't know that is going to matter. I also heard that Rich Rod, they were trying to bring back Rich Rod. So it's just kind of a deal. I mean, I haven't even seen it. Has he coached at all since he left Arizona? I don't even know. I don't even remember if he's been anywhere. Rich Rodriguez? You don't remember Rich Rod? Youngster.
I don't think so, no.
Freaking youngsters.
24. I'm sorry.
All right. So Rich Rodriguez almost won the national title at West Virginia. He almost got the Alabama job. Wow. Almost got the Alabama job before they finally got Saban to go. Then he went to Michigan, kind of fell out there at Michigan, and then ended up at Arizona. And I hadn't seen him since, I hadn't seen him since. I've been wondering, but there's been a lot of rumors, and the Golden Blue dude was out there talking about that they were talking Rich Rodriguez all this past week, which is wild to me. Because I hadn't heard anything about him, and that was the best of his time as a coach. But that never generally works when you bring him back the second time. I mean, I know it kind of has for Mac, but I have a hard time believing that would work out for him if he's been that bad.
I don't even know as if it's really working out that well for Mac. I mean, Mac, how many years has he been in North Carolina now? Is this his third or fourth year now?
His third year, I think. Maybe fourth.
Last year was Sam Howell was kind of a disappointment, but the year before that was pretty great. And then this year with Drake May seems like he's going to be a stud, but I don't know. I feel like they're 7-1, but they don't feel like a 7-1 team to me.
Why? I mean, what didn't they play? Who did they play today?
They played Virginia Tech, and they won by one possession, I believe.
Well, yeah, they should have easily blown them out. It was Virginia,
right? So, and they were losing. I'm trying to pull them.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is and they hadn't played the meatiest part of that schedule either, but they did.
Right.
I'm pretty sure they beat Wake Forest, and then I don't know if they've played NC State yet or not.
They beat Pitt. They beat Duke. They only beat Miami by 3.
Yeah.
They lost to Notre Dame, so their one loss is to Notre Dame.
Right.
They only beat Georgia State by 7. They beat App State by 2. I mean, I feel like they're having they play Wake Forest next week. But Wake Forest, didn't they just lose again today? What happened to Sam Hartman? Yeah, they lost again today.
Yeah, they did. They got beat 30-21, but they lost to NC State. NC State's been, this
3
has been
interceptions this week. Yeah, but after Sam Hartman last week, he throws 3 interceptions and he comes back and does it again. Mm-hmm. Who are you throwing 3 picks? Are you Dillon Gabriel? Goodness gracious!
Hey! All right. No, I got to get to that now.
Got to throw them haymakers in there.
Yeah, you better do it now.
Logan can't hop on to talk his trash, so I got to step in.
All right, so and I've been kind of trying to avoid it a little bit, but I guess we should go ahead and talk about it. The state of Oklahoma today, not so good.
Bad L's.
Both Oklahoma and Oklahoma State take L's today. Oklahoma had Dillon Gabriel through 3 interceptions, and they only ended up in 10 points, but really just a kind of one of those games where they lose 38-35 to Baylor. They have opportunities to win throughout, don't get it done.
Yeah.
I
said a second ago. Sorry, before we got on, we talked just for a second. I honestly, when you look at a 3-point game, and there was a 5-set series, and I could be wrong. Maybe there was a good drive in there somewhere. I don't know, but there was a 5 or 6 offensive series for the Sooners where they've got 3 interceptions and a missed field goal and a turnover on downs. And really, to have those 5 drives and to only lose by 3, you got to think if Oklahoma just plays a little bit of a better offensive game, they probably win this game.
And it's really what's irritating if you're an Oklahoma fan, as I am. That's kind of what irritates you. Yeah, Coach. I knew I was going to get some of that. Yeah, he didn't, and I haven't really thought that much of it. I know that Logan loves him. I don't think he's that great.
I would have to ask, and Logan, if you have a quick answer in the comments, why did Craig Williams get all the touches and not Richard Reese? Because Richard Reese has been absolutely balling this season. And the fact that he touched the ball 4 times, did he have a reception? He had 1. He touched the ball 5 times. Mm-hmm. I mean, don't get me wrong, Richard Reese was eating. But I got to think if he touches the ball 25 times, he gets 240 yards. That dude's balling.
Yeah, but Williams, I mean, and that's the problem. But there's the problem that and talking a little bit about Brent Venables, and I mean, he wears these things on his sleeve. It looks like somebody kicked his dog, after he loses these games. It just breaks him in half because he's gotten so used to how they were doing things out in Clemson. Mm-hmm. First off, the team that he was left with in Norman is not the same team that went freaking 11-2 last year. I don't care what anybody says. It's not the same freaking football team. Aside from the quarterbacks, it's not the same team. That being said,
you lost a 5-star receiver too.
Yeah, but defensively, even on a bad defense, they still lost a lot of guys, and the ones that came back weren't great. And there's just a lack of discipline, a lack of strength. Schmitty came back in to be the trainer. That's going to pay dividends down the road. But as of right now, he's still dealing with the remnants of the Lincoln Riley / Bob Stoops time, where they've got they're just lacking discipline. And you can see it a lot of times, despite the fact that offense would do what it would do, that you would see times that and they get in a close game, like the Baylor game last year or like the Oklahoma State game, where you would see just these lapses in judgment and these times that they were not mentally tough, and you have to be in these big games. And they were not mentally tough today. And that, of course, that doesn't fall on Dillon Gabriel, all of that necessarily. He played pretty well in the second half.
He did.
I don't feel like it was his fault in the second half. But in the first, you need to come out and you need to make a play early in the game, put that. And I mean, they very easily could have gotten in control of that game, and it doesn't come down to that. So, that's why you play 4 quarters. You have to do it all at all times to be a real championship team. But this Oklahoma team is still definitely building. There's a lot of ridiculous expectations around Norman with, and you're on Twitter, son. You see it. It's insanity. Yeah. Insanity. The stuff that gets said on there. And, going after Todd Bates, what the hell are we even talking about? The guy was recruiter of the year 2 years ago, and you're talking trash about that he can't recruit because they lose a guy to Clemson or to Ohio State or Alabama or the money at Texas A&M. They're still going to probably flip Hicks if you ask me. So I don't, you know what I mean?
I think Hicks might come to Texas. I've seen a lot that
here's the thing. He's still going he's going to the Bedlam game. It's been confirmed. Okay. That is his official visit to Oklahoma. He's still going on it. And that's where they had him at first. The first time that he went and visited, they apparently you're going to have Jackson Arnold there. Some of these other guys that were trying to kind of that chosen 23 group or whatever. But right now they don't look good. And I'll just real quick, I'm going to go ahead and run this. Let's see what I got. I've got this short clip from Brent Venables real quick.
And tips or picks, throwing it late over the middle a couple of times. We can't do that. Baylor's a good disciplined football team, and they took advantage of some bad decisions, but I love the fight, and I love a lot of things that he did, particularly, in the second half. I thought he had, came back and responded, in a great way. So obviously those aren't ever any good. 3 plays and interception, 6 plays interception, and 5 plays interception, and then again, we're fortunate it wasn't more, but we held them to 10 points, in those situations. And we got to be better.
And, and he's right, but as I said, the guy, he just looks like he's wearing it. You know what I mean? It's wearing on him a bit as well. And I get it. There's a contingent of Oklahoma fans that just don't get it, quite at all. And I know, the same thing is true for a lot of Texas fans that have expectations that are just out of whack, So
I think our expectations this year, I think with Texas, and I guess with y'all kind of got beat. Y'all have lost 4 now. You lost to Texas by a lot. You lost to TCU by a good chunk. How were your other 2 losses? Who were they to?
Yeah, so they lost the first loss was to Kansas State. Adrian Martinez ran crazy, ran wild, and it amounted to kind of the same thing that you saw today, but it was a 7-point game. The TCU game got out of hand because Gabriel got knocked out of the game. That's exactly why the Texas game was out of hand, because they didn't have a quarterback that could play once Dillon got hurt. Do I think that they win that game with Dillon? No, I don't. I don't think so. That being said, they don't lose 49-0. You know what I mean?
No, they probably no.
You know
I don't know, unless Dillon Gabriel threw 3 interceptions, then maybe.
But again, and that's the one thing is like what bothers me about this game for that. There's a lot of guys, there's a lot of people around this program or that are watching this program and that have been already trashing on Gabriel and Jeff Lebby all year at times. Then it was not about those guys. Now they have a reason, that's what sucks is because now they're going to have a reason to bust on Dillon, and they shouldn't have.
There's no way you could hate on Dillon before today. 14 touchdowns, 1 interception. I would take exactly. If our quarterback was doing that, I would have been fine with that.
Right.
Quinn Ewers threw 3 picks last week. We lost. That's the part of it. You lose by 1 possession.
To me, what I mean? And I'm watching that game as close as I did in that game last week. I'm telling you now, I felt like that was a Sark deal. I know me and you talked about this already.
Yeah. Why do you?
I'm telling you, that was. What are you doing throwing the football right there? And particularly in people that don't realize, there's a lot of people that don't realize too that East-West, the way that stadium lines up East-West, you get some weird swirling winds that at 10 yards it may not be a big thing. At 20, 25 yards, it's going to move the football.
Yeah.
So where you didn't see Quinn miss a lot of throws tonight, It's windy in Kansas too. You know what I mean? But it's a different kind of wind. And so it was that is a coaching issue. You know, he even forgot to do the Eyes of Texas after the game was over with. I mean, what are you thinking?
Flustered.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, when you, like I said, when you have the same script, I mean, I was texting Logan and let me just pull that up because he had way more confidence than I have, but he says, y'all seem to be playing good. I'm like, we always play good in the first half. Just wait. And he's like, no, y'all are good. Y'all are good. I'm like, no.
I thought for sure that the second half came around and they did let it get close, you know, but I was like,
I told him
14 ain't enough. I was like, 14 ain't enough.
No, check this out. I said we're up 21-10. So we're winning by 11. Yeah. I said, I've seen this game a million times. And I said, well, I've seen it 9 times and we lose. And then we're up by 11. We take the score and we go up by by 21? Yeah, we go up by 21 and still almost lose it. And he says, and what happened? No, Logan, don't tell me.
Yeah, we see what happened, but you saw what happened too if you were watching it at all. They tried to choke it up.
They tried. And it's because that offense, like, the best way I can put it is Coach Sark. I know you'll never watch this video. If Christian Herrington, never started a single game on varsity, if I can be watching the football game and predict what you're going to do, then those guys that get
those guys know what they're doing too.
They can do it too.
And I've said this, man. I've told you this before, and I think this is what the guy is a 500 coach, and you are what your record is.
Whoa.
The sample size. Sample size tells you he's a 500 coach, dude.
He's 11-10. Give him some credit.
Yeah, he's 500. I'm talking about over his career as a head coach. Yeah. That is what he is. He was that at Washington. Yeah. He was that at USC. And that is what he – okay, should they fire him after this year? No, he just probably saved his job this year too, unless he was to go and just completely trash himself next week.
Fired. He's not.
I think he might have. I know that you want to believe that your boys wouldn't do that. I've seen them do it. I know they do it.
Here's the thing. Here's the difference, okay? Tom Herman didn't get fired because of his record. He got fired because he lost Quinn Ewers. He got fired because that recruiting class dropped from – we had back-to-back top 3, and then we had a 5, and then he was at 17. He was at 17. They said, you're out.
That's a little weird. Yeah, that was a little weird. And then the whole deal was Sark he's a stopgap at best. Well. Yeah, so what? Listen, what does that have to do with anything when you don't win the big games, though?
Because when we're about to go to the SEC, we can't restart again. We're going to go to the SEC.
I think that you can. Now that they've decided that they're not going until 25, I think, here's the deal.
Who are we hiring,
what if 2 years from now you're still a 500 team? What if 2 years from now when they are getting ready to go, they're getting ready now to go to the SEC and you're still a 500 team? What do you mean you can't restart? That's silly talk.
I think the problem with that is going to the SEC. If we go to the SEC in our first year is 500, I don't think that hurts.
That's not what the are you kidding?
I don't think it does. Like A&M wasn't 10-2 in their first seasons at.
First of all, this is you're gonna compare yourself with little brother, are we? Is that what we're
gonna do? because if you look at what they did compared to what we thought they were gonna do, they went over there and what they get? They got the recruiting bump. And that recruiting bump.
No, they're already getting the recruiting bump, bro. They're already getting that because they know they're going. They're already getting that. That has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with
it. I think if we
they get recruits at Texas anyway. That's not the issue with you guys. That is not your problem.
Right, but our problem. Okay, but here is a problem. If you still gotta take a step back and say how many players do we have this year on the roster that weren't there last year? We got 37 players. Okay.
Yeah, we're losing viewers here talking this much about freaking Texas. Look at this shit.
When you look at the size of the players we recruit on the trenches versus Herman, we're being built in a team. And if you said at the end of the day, if you look at this team this year versus last year, the results are
better. They're better, but are they significantly better
on the season?
Listen,
we've got 3 games left, and we've won more games this year than last year.
Okay, but they led every game they played last year. They led every game they played. Yeah. So because of the fact that they lost and now they've won a few more, that doesn't matter. I mean, to me,
Yeah.
the differences are not in the players so much as it is, or I mean, the differences maybe aren't in the coaches. They are in the, maybe you've got a few more players that have, and they're giving the football to Bijan a little more. I mean, I would have given him the ball all damn night tonight again.
We have a redshirt freshman quarter. Like, there are
Come on,
things that are
stop making
still
excuses like that when you know he's one of the best quarterbacks in the freaking league. I don't want to hear that crap.
absolutely not. Have you seen the way he played the last 2 weeks?
He played bad last week, and again, you just said yourself that was a Sark issue. Oh my goodness! All right, let me go back to Oklahoma real quick. Let me give all these stats out real quick.
Right.
Dillon Gabriel goes 22 of 34 for 261, 2 touchdowns, but those 3 interceptions we talked about. They actually ran the football a lot better than I expected them to against Baylor's defense. Eric Gray with 23 carries, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns. He should have gotten the football more. I feel like, but 23 carries is actually probably his most for the season. Shapen didn't look good. I again, as I said before, I'm not a huge believer in that kid. I think he's not terrible. I know he's young. But you had Williams with 25 carries for 192 and 2 touchdowns. I think the main thing was that as you could kind of tell with what Venables was saying in this presser, is you're seeing a lot of these undisciplined, as far as not even just, assignment discipline, things like that are showing up. And those things are happening. Those are the things that they're going to have to work out of it over the next year or two, and the people that thought Oklahoma was ready to go to the playoff because they got a defensive minded coach now were insane anyway. And they're insane if they think they're going to go ahead and just turn around and win the Big 12 easily next year, because that's not going to be the case either. They're going to be better next year. And then I would think in year 3 would probably be when your expectation levels should be able to go up a little bit if you're a Sooner fan. That being said, what?
So you're saying next year they just have to get a little bit better, and then year 3 when it matters. Texas has gotten a little bit better in year 2, and you think
what is a little bit better than 5 and 7? Is that what it is? Is that what you're telling me? Okay, yeah. They're a little better than that.
What are y'all?
They're a little better.
They're a little better. 5 and 4, dude.
Bro, but okay, the difference.
Y'all will make a bowl.
I'm going to tell you what the difference is. That Texas still had its freaking roster intact. They didn't turn over 44% of the roster and the entire coaching staff.
But we did have 30. We have 37 new people from last year. That's pretty close to 44. I mean, 37 is a pretty big number.
Percent. Is that what it is? 37 players difference?
No, it's 37
out of 150. That's not 44%, bro.
Out of an 85-man roster.
Okay. Either way you look at it, but they do have
that's a lot.
It's a better situation
that's a lot.
I'm telling you, though, you could see it last year in Texas that the talent level was there. The talent level was there. You know it was. Do you see that in Norman right now? No.
I see, especially on the offensive side of the ball, I do see.
Yes, that's never been a problem.
But y'all's defense isn't. I mean, y'all's defense right now, is it really that much worse than what we've seen in the last 5 or 6 years?
It's worse. I think it's. Well, here's the deal. Horses wise, they're a little down. I think the issue, what you're really seeing though, is that they're trying to change into something else to what they. Out of that speed defense that Grinch was running, they're trying to run into. I really feel like they ought to be doing a 4-man front instead of a 3. I think that's a problem. But that being said, is it worse? A little, yeah. But the problem
seems worse. I think it's recent. I think it's a little bit of recency bias because in the past, y'all's defense was still giving up a ton.
Yes.
Y'all's defense was giving up a ton, but y'all were winning the games because you had Heisman-level quarterbacks.
Correct.
And it's the whole point. I think the defense is the same. I think it's the offense that, like I said, they still have talent, but Dillon Gabriel isn't Kyler Murray or Baker.
It's not about Dillon Gabriel so much, though, as it is about the other. I mean, you lost other receivers. The offensive line isn't as good. And Dillon is not Caleb Williams. Let's not get ridiculous.
No, he's not. He's not
Caleb
to be
Williams.
fair, before today, 14 touch. I mean, let's look at this guy.
No, he's been great. I'm not complaining about Dillon at all.
Like
I'm not complaining about Dillon at all. I am not unhappy with him.
He's playing way better than I thought.
Today's game, I've been apologizing I've been taking this guy up. I've been taking up for this guy all year. I don't want to hear the Jeff Levy talk. I don't want to hear the Dillon Gabriel talk. I want to hear people say what's real, and it's that defensively we have even regressed from last year. Now, that being said, are they going to get better? I have no doubt of that. There's nowhere to go but up. But what the point I was trying to make is, and I think that was the point that you could see coming from Venables, and, you know, even though through the whole, you could tell he's just, I mean, he's so down. Yeah. But the point is that I think that the reason he seems so flabbergasted is because they're going through this and they get it in practice and stuff, and then they don't do it on the field. And it sucks, you know, because they're teaching them the right things and they continue to go back on these old habits and not being assignment disciplined to do the things that they need to do. And those are the things that are going to be the difference. Does Oklahoma, do I feel like, dude, shut up, Logan. Well, why aren't you in here if you're going to talk all this trash from the freaking from the comment section? What the hell is that? He can't even come on, but he can sit there and tap. He's been on here the entire time. Where are you at?
Yeah.
There's got to be a reason that you're not telling me, and I'll get it later. Listen, I feel like obviously they need to be better, but I don't have the highest of expectations for this season. I think they get to 7 wins. I think that's not 7 or 8 is going to be great. If they win the Bedlam game, which I think is going to happen for sure, then that's a really good season. You get in the recruits that are his guys. Huh? I think they get to 8.
I mean, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and Tech.
They should win all 3. They should win all 3.
Yeah. I mean, I could see y'all losing to Oklahoma State, but I feel like that's such a game
in
where
Norman?
Oklahoma
No way.
Generally
no
wins.
way it happens.
Yeah.
No way it happens in Norman. And especially with the way that, hey, let's talk about Oklahoma State a little bit. Going to that game, you know, this is a team that
lose.
Hey, yeah. And you know, it couldn't happen to a better guy, Coach Gundy.
And I will say, I didn't realize that Spencer Sanders wasn't going to play.
My question is why they didn't put in Gunner. Why did he put Rangel in? I didn't understand that.
Because he's not going to throw his son out there like that, man.
What a weak sauce move. And that's why he deserves this. That's why he deserves this. Oklahoma State, come on, folks. If you're a Pokes fan, you got to explain to me why. You really do. Because this is a dude that freaking comes up small at all times. And at the time that you should be really good and loving the opportunity that you have when both Oklahoma and Texas are down and you all the time. That's all you do. You choke.
Yeah.
A loss to Kansas, 37-16, coming off of a 48-0 loss a week ago at Kansas State. Kansas and Kansas State win the Oklahoma State championship. 3 wins in the series.
Time out.
Go ahead.
Time out. Logan. Christian doesn't get to fight me because Jason Bean is cold. Don't get me wrong. Jason Bean, 18-23, 203 yards, 2 touchdowns. They didn't win that game.
He had a nice running game, too. He had 93 yards on the ground, too. It was a big – they had that one big run.
Devin Neal. 32 carries, 224 yards and a touchdown. He also had 6 catches for 110
Jason
yards.
Bean is cold.
When you've got
When
you've got one guy that touches the ball 38 times and gets 334 yards and a touch.
Whoa.
No. Now, don't get me wrong. Technically, Jalen Bean threw him the ball, but you take Neal out of
Jason
that
Bean
game,
is not – dude is not the reason for anything. That guy – he had that cold. 1 touchdown run. No. Devin Neal was the man. And one thing I'll tell you, hey, the guy, they should be so excited to have Lance Leipold there. I mean, they were so trash last year.
He'll get another job.
He's going to get the Nebraska job probably. It looks like. He's been
I don't like Kansas being good.
I don't really like
at first I did, and now I'm like, wait, we still got to play these kids.
Yeah, what are you guys going to do against them this year?
We're going to lose. It's on the road.
Yeah, you got your road win against K-State, bro. What is ooh?
Yeah.
And it's been 1,200 and
TCU
something
at
days
home.
now since Texas has beaten Kansas.
Yeah,
So-
whatever. Shut up. We got TCU at home, Kansas on the road, and Baylor at home. So we got at least 2 more wins in us. So maybe we go
but
8-4.
You think you beat TCU? You think?
No, probably not. But
I don't
think
know.
you can. I
think
TCU,
you can too. I think you can too.
They've got a lot of The problem is, what is TCU known for? Not this week, but a couple weeks. They did it back to back where they're down by 17 or so and come back. What are we known for? Going up by
giving them
up.
Losing. Yeah, giving them up.
Honestly,
that is perfect.
It probably works. Yeah,
prophetically.
We probably lose that game. Probably winning.
Make sure that you are on the show
minutes.
that night. We're going to make sure that you're on the show that night so that we can speak about that.
I go to bed early when we lose.
Obviously,
try to get Saturday over with. I move
Garrett
on to
Rangel,
Sundays, go to church and feel better.
There you go. Yeah, Garrett Rangel for Oklahoma State goes 27 of 40 for 304 yards, but throws 3 interceptions, has a 33.6 QBR, and I mean, it's not even a close game, 37-16.
And there's another point. Talking about Jason Bean is cold. Y'all won, Kansas won by what?
They won by 21.
21. They won by 21 in a game where the third string quarterback throws 3 interceptions. Jason Bean had a good day, but Cole,
he's not that good though. I mean, they put up 40 against Oklahoma. Yeah. I mean, big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
absolutely not cool.
When the freaking it was definitely Devin Neal, but it's Lance Leipold that has changed things around in Kansas. He did definitely get himself another job if he wants it. He's going to end up somewhere. I don't know why you wouldn't be trying to go and get him.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I saw that. I see that.
I doubt it.
Do you want what? You really hate Lance Leipold or what? You just want him to go and have a terrible time, Logan, or what? I mean,
I would actually,
why would you want him?
I would hate that. I wouldn't want that there because I think A&M might be successful. And
what would it matter?
I hate the Aggies, so.
Little brothers. There's something. They're just weird, aren't they? But I think that this is a Lance Leipold thing. But I mean, let's talk. And here's what I wanted to make sure that we show this because this is what is always. I always love the answers that you get out of Gundy. It's just the answers out of Gundy.
We got to keep working as a team. We got to find a way to slow down the rush, and then we got to find a way to rush the ball a little bit. Got to tackle a little better. Got to protect a little better. Obviously, turnovers made it difficult for us today. We were minus several in turnovers, but we got to be able to defend the rush on defense, and then just keep working, try to get a little better and run a game on offense. So told the guys the same thing. I said, look, we got to go back to work and work hard this week and get ready. We're going to have another game about this time next Saturday, and told leaders we need guys to step up.
That guy.
Man,
we gotta rush it a little better. We got that's the same crap he said against the TCU. Gotta play a little better.
Obvious. I could have said that, Coach. Y'all could pay me a lot less to say that.
Bruh, and he's got and that's a perpetual 5-year deal that reloads every year.
Hey,
and you're reloading for this.
Coach Sark, every week after we lose, what his Monday press conference opener is? His Thursday press conference. We had a good week of practice.
Good week of practice. Good week of practice.
We had this might have been the best week I've ever seen us have.
He does say that.
Oh, really? He said that last week?
I watch it all the time. Yeah. Oh, so y'all are getting better in practice all the time. Yeah, I get it. Hey, it's funny, and that's the same thing with Gundy. How this guy has been there this is his 18th season. He's beaten Oklahoma 3 freaking times in 18 seasons. The one conference title that he won was when they didn't have a freaking championship game that year. Otherwise, they lose it. You know what I mean? And every time, just like last year, they get that win. I feel like it was a gift win against Oklahoma in Stillwater. And what do in the Big 12 championship game? They throw 4 interceptions and lose against a team that they battered in the regular season. This is a trash coach, a trash program. They love to talk about how good they are down there, but yet they never do. I mean, when you have the opportunities that they get a lot of times and you blow them all the time, to me, and look, man, I know I give Sark a hard time. He hadn't done it for as long as freaking Gundy's been doing it. And if he continues doing what he's going to do, he may make it through this year. They're not going to put up with that crap for much longer there. There's no way. There's no way. But yet in Oklahoma State, here's the difference between programs. At Oklahoma State, he's been around for 18 years and has a perpetual 5-year deal. That's the difference. They'll fire his ass at Texas if that don't stop.
The difference
in Oklahoma State, they give you a 5-year deal that renews every year.
Here's the difference, all right? And we call A&M a little brother, and they are.
Oh no, Okie Light is little brother too. No doubt.
That's the thing. We call A&M a little brother, but in all reality, A&M is actually relevant of college football, and Oklahoma State really isn't. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, because they're in the SEC. Only because they're in the SEC.
And they recruit really well. I mean, Oklahoma State just doesn't matter. And so it's kind of like a Gary Patterson at TCU.
Thank you.
And it's like, okay, 8-4 is good enough. You're at Oklahoma State.
Who cares?
You're at TCU. Mm-hmm. You're at Tech. You're at West Virginia. 8-4 is like,
if you win 10 games, they love you. They love you for winning 10 games.
You win
every once in a while. Every once in a while you win 10. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Look, Gary Patterson got himself 10 years just by getting that close to the playoff that year. Got himself 10 extra years.
Well, he, as much as it pains me to say, he got himself those 10 years because in the last 10-year span, he went like 7-3 against Texas. If Texas had to beat him every year, they'd have got fired. He'd have got fired a long time ago if he was.
Because Texas sucked, though, and that's the whole thing. We talked about this with why did Oklahoma look so good. And then they would look so bad in the playoffs is because neither Texas or Oklahoma State was relevant. Neither one of them. Nobody was there to really push them. And I know Baylor had their moments during that time, but if Baylor's who's going to push you, you got a problem.
Logan brings up a really good point. Half of A&M's wins comes from FCS non-con opponents every year. I've been saying all offseason, I've got one of my closest friends. He's an Aggie. He graduated from A&M, so I can't blame him. But yeah, right. He admits it's a cult, so that's all I got to say.
It's a weird deal, bro. It's a weird.
They went 8-4 last year, and they beat Bama. So in all reality, if they had
that's an 8-win team, bro. That's what they are.
But no, they should have been a 7-win team. Like, if you really think about it, they should have been 7. They shouldn't have been.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no. You're right. You're right. No, they got a gift win in that one.
Right. When you take the fact that they play they play 4 non-conference games
that are trash,
and 2 or 3 of them will be FCS every year. If they played a real non-con schedule, I mean, mind you, Texas
they paid 1.5 to get beat by.
Right. I think this year's A&M and last year's isn't that different. I think they just got lucky last year. They're not getting lucky this year.
Listen, when they won that freaking 9 games that year in the COVID year, why did they do that? And it wasn't because their quarterback, who was not his guy, was good. If it hadn't have been for that, they don't have a season that you can talk about.
What was that name of it?
It's
Kellen
Mond. Yes. Best quarterback they've had there in a long time.
I think. So I mean I think he already got cut in the NFL.
I'm not even saying that he was great. I'm saying that in comparison to with what they have now, and the guys that Jimbo has brought in, they don't have. I mean, that's the difference.
No, Wagman.
Mon was good there. He was good there.
He wasn't. He's
better than the guys that they're throwing out there now.
I believe his name is Wagman.
King back in there.
I think it's Wagman.
Why in the hell was King back in today? Over the flu.
He was riddled by the flu this week. I told Logan, I actually picked A&M to win.
That's about right, man.
Right before the game, I said I flipped my pick. I'm picking Florida because they've got like 12 players out with the flu, And sure enough,
that's about right.
I didn't know if it was a lie, if it was a rumor or what, but it was true. And so,
that makes a lot of sense.
They probably beat Florida with Wagman the way he played last week. But honestly, I hope they'll beat UMass. But I think they could lose to Auburn. I'm trying to find how that game turned out. And I think
they could definitely lose to Auburn. Auburn did everything. Did they end up?
I'm trying to find it.
Let me go to the scores. I'll go back to it here. Well, that's definitely not a top 25 score.
They'll definitely lose to LSU, and so they'll beat UMass. But man, they really have an opportunity to go 4-8 this year. So Auburn lost. Mm-hmm. Auburn lost 39-33. But I think they'll lose.
That's it. But you know what? Even the fact that was on the road for Auburn, and it's first week without. You can almost expect and understand that with the first week without a coach, they end up you usually get a response out of the team. Yeah. I think that probably is a symptom of that. And on top of that, man, look, as much as I love the Pirate, these guys don't play no defense. They're not gonna play defense, and that's how it was when he was at Tech, and that's just how it is. They got the win. Good for them. Good for Mississippi State. Obviously, their big game left is going to be the Egg Bowl, where they've got Mississippi in that one. South Carolina bounces back with not a great win over Vanderbilt, 38-27. Right. Obviously, we talked about Florida winning 41-24 over Texas A&M. Kentucky slides by Mizzou, but the big one, LSU, number 10, knocks off Alabama with a 2-point conversion in the overtime. Yeah. I love that call. And I like trying to go for it right then. Don't screw around. Let's win this thing now. I love that call. And then, of course, you have the number 1 versus number 1 matchup. Clearly, Georgia is the best team in the country. Yes. Clearly the best team in the country. 27-13 win for the Bulldogs. Look, I think just kind of we're going to go ahead and probably end it coming up here in just a couple of minutes. So just kind of talking about that a little bit at the end. We talked about it a little bit before. That is a dominant performance against an offense that has just been unbelievable all season. To hold them to 13 points in and of itself is huge. 195 yards, 1 interception for Hendon Hooker that probably screws up his Heisman bid. And Stetson Bennett only was 17-25 for, he goes 257. They didn't even really have to get a ton out of this offense, and they still win. It wasn't as close as the score.
Does that ruin his Heisman chances? I mean,
because I think that C.J. Stroud
threw a touchdown today. He's got 21 touchdowns to 2 interceptions.
I'm not saying it should have. I'm telling you that what generally happens. And C.J. Stroud has been the Heisman favorite since before the season started. And the fact that they're still unbeaten, if Stroud beats Michigan in 2 weeks, which he should, then that's it. Or is it next week that game is? I don't know. I'll have to look.
I think it's – well, anyway, I got to look at something real quick.
If Stroud wins this game, if Stroud wins that game against Michigan, and it's at the shoe, then more than likely, and they go on and win the Big Ten championship, which, it doesn't matter whoever wins that game is obviously going to win the Big Ten. And the other one's going to get left out. That could be a great game, and you're going to only get one of those dudes in the playoff. Honestly,
think Tennessee. I think Tennessee will probably.
I think they screwed their chances to get in the playoff.
I don't think so. I think they'll be number 4 because once again, I don't know what the committee looks at, but that
what do you mean though? How could you even do? Well, obviously Clemson's out. Clemson's out. Clemson's definitely out. They got
and Bama won't jump in.
That helped Tennessee a lot. That helped Tennessee a lot.
Michigan won, but it was ugly at half, but they ended up winning by a crap ton. But the question is going to be, what do they do Logan, what do they do to TCU at 10? And one thing on TCU that I did see, because Logan mentioned Morton starting for Tech. They hurt Morton. Has TCU played a team without hurting their quarterback yet? Have they played a game where they
Gary Patterson in them, man? That's that old Gary Patterson in them.
I feel like there's got to be a part where you're like, okay, it happened once, twice, thrice, 4 or 5. How many times does it have to happen?
Dirty hits too, and every one of them were dirty. I know the one today was a pretty dirty.
I know the
hit
one
too.
against to Dillon was, but like,
absolutely
man,
dirty. It was absolutely dirty.
You gotta. I don't know. I guess I kind of hesitate on calling dirty. I'd have to watch the play because
it is football. Let's not get carried away. Yes, let's not get carried away with that. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Where Blake Shapen, like when he got hit hard, he slid late. You got to slide earlier. If you slide too late, the guy's already going for a tackle. That
wasn't the case in the Dillon Gabriel deal, though. He was mid slide, and the guy freaking hits him anyway and pounds his head into the dirt. I mean, it was. Right. It caused a brawl, and rightfully so. That was definitely dirty. I can say that, no doubt. Now, to Dillon Gabriel's credit, he said that there was no malice intended. I guess the guy called him or something, but he was, to Dillon's credit, he's not upset about it. So I'll give you that. But this is honestly, I guess it is going to be a pretty good toss-up. Now, there's a lot of football still left to play. Let's not get crazy because Ole Miss still has a chance. Here's the deal. If Ole Miss gets a win next week against Alabama, how important does that Alabama win become? Because that'll be 3 losses.
I don't know. I don't think it becomes very important for Ole Miss. I think at that point you're beating a 2-loss Bama who should probably be a 4-loss Bama at the time.
At least.
Like Bama could realistically
at least 4 losses. Yeah.
Right now.
Brother, they don't look. I've been saying it all year that they look shaky at best.
How long is Nick Saban staying in college football? His empire seems to be crumbling.
I'll tell you what. If Deion Sanders takes the job at Auburn, I could see him bouncing in a year or 2.
Yeah, I mean
easily, because you want to deal with that guy. You want to deal with that guy year in and year out on the recruiting trail when he's already beating your butt at it from Jackson State.
Logan mentioned that he thinks Deion is waiting for Nick to bounce so that he can go to Bama. That Deion probably wants the Bama.
That's possible. Job. That's possible. I could see. I have a hard time. It's a hard time to believe that either university would be okay with having an African American head coach, no matter what. Now, in this day and time, it's silly to even that we would think about that. Yeah, but it's never happened. Still, Christian, it's still never happened.
Yeah,
it's never happened at either university.
Sanders, he's killing it at Jackson
Absolutely.
State.
Absolutely,
he's gonna get an opportunity. Honestly, if they could
beat most FBS teams. They could beat most FBS teams. If you've seen Travis Hunter, that is as locked down as it gets. When Deion says that he's better than him, Deion says he's better than I was at that point in my career. That's crazy.
Because he's a true freshman.
Mm-hmm. He's freaking unbelievable. And Deion's son is unbelievable too.
Wherever Deion goes, all those players are going to transfer right there.
Oh, absolutely.
Like Jackson State, the year he leaves, Jackson State's going to get gutted, and
a bunch of his guys that have come into Jackson State. A bunch of the guys that have come into Jackson State were all
raises a question: how old? What class is his son? Is he a senior? Is he a junior? Do we know?
I believe he's a junior. I think he's a sophomore or junior. He's young still.
If you're Deion, wouldn't it be best for you to leave so that your son can transfer to like a FBS top?
I think he's going to get a chance either way. I think he's going to get a chance either way. But I would probably want to see him
tier quality. Sure. That's the experience is more.
Here's the thing though, because if you go to that, if he takes him to that next level and he's not ready, then you could kind of screw your chances at even getting into the NFL.
That is true also.
If you take him to the SEC and he's not what we think he was
late, or at least picked up as a free agent and given a chance.
I think so too. He's a great athlete. If you've watched him play at all, first of all, he throws the ball very well too.
Do you know how to pronounce his name?
Shakur.
Something like Shardur. Something like that.
Shadir Stevenson. Yeah. Shadir obviously Sanders. Yeah. Stevenson. What am I thinking? No, look, the guys, but he throws the ball well. He obviously runs the ball very well. He's electric. Straight up athlete, man. The guy's a real deal athlete. And the fact that he's playing quarterback, and that's not, you would have expected. Deion's other son was a really good corner, and I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think he's still with them, or maybe last year was a senior.
I
I
don't
don't remember, but I know that they both very, very good, very good. But Travis Hunter, man, is unbelievable. Unbelievable. They don't throw to him at all. They don't throw that side at all anymore. For the last 4 games that I've heard of, I think they've had 1 attempt over there. 1 attempt in like 4 games. It was almost like, why bother? Yeah, what do you mean? I mean, there's other guys, there's other opportunities out there. You know what I mean? Why would you even mess with it? So yeah, it's of course it doesn't matter. They're beating the brakes off of everybody. Of course, last year they did the same thing in the SWAC, and then they turned around and lost that big game to who was it? I think Georgia State or something like that is who beat them in that big game. But I think that if he goes ahead and wins the overall HBCU championship type of deal, I feel like that he definitely could leave. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't, though, Christian, is because I think this is about more than just moving up.
It is.
I think it is. I think he would have already had a job in Division I if he wanted it.
I posted a TikTok on our page, and it was actually him talking to his locker room, and he was saying it. He was like they said it could never be done at a HBCU, and we're doing it.
And it's not even necessarily about Jackson State as much as it is about the entirety of the SWAC and HBCU to have health. The SWAC has the worst, I don't know if you know this, one of the worst TV deals I've ever even heard of, that they're getting like $1 million per team per year. And they turned it down. Jackson State was like, screw that. We can get more than that on our own. We don't need that. Yeah. So they turned it down. And he was trying to get the rest of the league to be like, look, start having more value for yourself here. And it's right now, though, I would say that it's as well as it's going for Jackson State. I don't know that it's going that well for everybody else, and truth be told, they may be about ready for him to get out of there because they're sick of having to deal with him. Look at the whole deal with Alabama State. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like you're winning. You don't.
And you're getting looked at, period. Everybody should love him for what he's doing. I don't care if he talks trash, whatever. The fact that you're getting eyes on that league week after week after week. You had game day. You had game day at Jackson State last week. I mean, you know what I mean? When you do that, that's huge. It's huge for the game. It's huge for their league altogether. What are you looking at? What's going on?
I'm looking at their games, but I'm not sure what I'm looking at because it's weird. It goes September 5th, 11th, 18th, and then it goes September 4th, 10th, 17th. So I'm not sure what schedule because it says that they lost to LA Monroe on the 18th-21, but
they haven't lost a game this year, have they?
That's what I'm saying. They're 9-0, so I'm trying to figure out what I'm actually.
No, that was maybe
last year. I don't know.
Yeah, hold on.
I'm trying to find their 2022 football schedule. See if that's it. Because so to start the season, they beat 59-3, 66-49. They're winning they're winning. Well, there's a couple close games in there, but mostly
they've played some good games. They've played some good teams. That Alabama State game, that's why that coach was so pissed off. It wasn't because Deion did this or that during the week. He was mad because he lost. And they felt like they were going to get they had a chance to win. I mean, that's coaches. Who gets it? Everybody made such a big thing about that. And rightly, Deion made a thing about I am SWAC. Who ain't SWAC, blah, blah, blah. I get it. I get it why he did that. And he's
Deion
smart.
is Deion. He's the same guy he was when he was in the NFL.
Absolutely. If you expected him to be different, what's wrong with you?
He was one of the best, and he earned it.
And he always talked trash. Hey, Jerry Rice hated him whenever he was on his same team. Still hated him. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of one of them things. You know, the trash talkers they're going to generate some hate in places. But I would have rather seen that guy not come out and apologize the next week. I would have rather him just say, "No, screw that guy."
Yeah,
because come on. Let's see from leaving hotel. Yeah, so what they are. Yeah, this season they're blowing everybody out. 59-3, the 16-3 against Tennessee State. I think that was probably one of the better. Is that Tennessee State is who Eddie George coaches, isn't it?
To be honest, I'm not really all that familiar with many of those teams except
Yeah,
for
so
Texas
it's
State.
Shador Sanders who
Shador,
is
yeah.
Shador. Yeah, he's but I mean they've been talking about him as a potential Heisman candidate. He's obviously not a real one because he plays
Yeah.
in a conference that is never good. They would never do that. Now,
No.
I agree with you though. If you bring him to Auburn and you have you want to talk about shifting the balance of power in college football? It does it right now, particularly in the state of Alabama. Right now, Alabama owns that state. They own a lot of other states as well.
Yeah.
But when you bring in a guy like Deion Sanders, who is not only not afraid, he's their buddy. They're not that good, man. Saban threw him under the bus with Jimbo at the first of the
Even
year.
after their Aflac commercials.
Absolutely. So and
Yeah.
that's why. And if you watched a couple of weeks ago, Deion was talking about that. I didn't forget what you did. You should go back and look at that. He was talking about that. So look, believe me, Deion has been waiting on it. He's still being nicey nice, waiting on his moment to freaking stick the needle right back in Nick Saban, which that crap was so self-serving. For the people that are sitting there acting like he was trying the good of the game, get out of here. He's pissed off because his ability to cheat. His ability to cheat is no longer an advantage to him.
He's been paying players for years, and most teams have. I'm not
even saying that. It's exactly everybody's been paying players for years. It's silly to think
when
otherwise.
It's legal and A&M can drop. And now, mind you, A&M did it wrong. I think they're still doing it wrong.
Yeah, they're still talking about acting like they didn't pay him.
Shut up and say you did. There was one video where like a recruit is walking onto the field and one of the guys points and says, "You see that press box? That's where your money's coming from." Okay, well, that's not how this is supposed to work. The donors aren't supposed to be providing this NIL money. So they're still doing it wrong.
They're supposed to be giving. They're supposed to be giving for equal something or other. But the thing is you can use them in a commercial or do this or that. But yeah, they can do whatever they want. The truth of it is at this point in time, even if they are quote unquote cheating by the letter of the law, the NCAA has zero teeth. They have no teeth.
Yeah,
nothing left. There's nothing they can do.
They're at the point where
they're about to get rid of the NCAA.
That's what I'm saying.
As far as the FBS is concerned,
the
FBS is going to leave them out of this next deal. They're not going to have anything.
And
you go deal with Division II. We're not listening to you anymore.
Hang on.
They don't care about them.
I don't know how much time you got. That's a whole other conversation. Because I was talking to Logan about this. Why do teams only allow 85 people on a roster? That's an NCAA rule. If you really think about it, getting rid of the NCAA, it's almost one of those things where, and Oklahoma was one of the first schools to ever really question the NCAA as far as like their media TV rights go. Way back, what was that, in the 80s or 90s? Like they were one of the first
Coach
teams.
Switzer, they hated Barry Switzer.
Yeah.
He stuck his neck out and got it cut off, at some point, but they did have teeth at that point. But, look at the way that SMU was thumbing their nose. They ended up having to get the death penalty, but they were cheating and not giving a crap. Their entire team had – I remember that Pony Express on ESPN was amazing.
Yeah.
All those dudes had those gold freaking cars and all that stuff. The Nissan 280Zs, sports cars.
But my point of it is if the FBS level gets rid of the NCAA – who's to say that we don't just decide you can now have 100 man on your roster? Because right now you're limited.
Right.
You're limited to 100. Well, what matters is stacking this talent. When you look at the teams that are really great, Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia,
look
Bama,
at what just happened.
Talent.
Hey, we just talked about the Big Ten is trash aside from those two programs.
Yeah.
But because of that money, in a couple of years from now, you're going to see a few of the programs with the better coaches are going to become good because they're going to be able to say, hey, here's some money, here's some money, here's some money.
But if
you're not going to get to play right away at Ohio State. But if you come here and we got enough money to pay you, if you come here, you'll get to play, you'll get a chance to beat those guys. There's going to be 3 or 4 good ones. Plus you got SC coming in. I would guess and venture to say that they're going to end up with Oregon and Washington before it's all over with as well, because of the fact that they don't want to have to travel that much. And they could even end up with more than that. They could. Stanford may end up being in. Yeah, Stanford, Cal. Yeah. Not that Cal's good enough to do it, but they'll do it.
Bother with Cal. You've got
they'll
USC,
do it because of Stanford, though. They'll do it because of Stanford, because Stanford wants to keep their and the academics. Plus, they want to keep their natural rivalry. You know what I mean? That's good for money. And then
but Utah is more important than Cal.
No way Utah gets in that. Utah is not in that picture.
Not for the academics, no maybe, but
they'll never get in that.
So
they don't
Utah
care about
if the whole conference falls. They either go Big 12 or
Utah ends
ACC?
up in the Big 12.
Probably
Utah
ACC.
ends up in the Big 12. That's where BYU's
because of BYU. Yeah.
Why wouldn't they? Yeah, they don't promise you they don't want anything to do with them there. They don't want anything to that whole, and like BYU, they have been unfairly kept out of the Pac-12 all these years because of the Mormon thing. Promise you that's what it's about. Yeah. And it's the reason that they the entire Christian part of it, the Big 12 thing, the no merger part, they turn their nose up at that because of religious stuff. The differences between California and Texas is Christianity, pretty much. Yeah. In Texas, you got a lot of Christians. In California, you got a lot of atheists. You know what I mean? It's just kind of how it is. And so they're turning their nose up at a lot of that stuff. And I think at their own peril. I think George Kliavkoff has handled this entire situation awful. Yeah,
because he
could have finished off the Big 12. He could have killed the Big 12 last year.
I'm glad it didn't happen.
Me too. But he could have killed the Big 12. He could have went and grabbed up Oklahoma State and Baylor and Houston, for that matter, to where none of the three of them ended up in the Big 12. And then all of a sudden, you're screwed.
They wouldn't have even had to take Houston. It would have been all that.
They wouldn't have had to
before the Big 12 even announced that they were taking the other teams.
Well, they would have ended up having to do it though. They should have. They should have finished.
You could take Oklahoma State and Baylor, and then even then you maybe
Baylor's not as national a brand though, is what I'm saying. And you were looking for at that point. You're looking for television rights and where you're going to get a lot of TV money. Like think about this. For that matter, West Virginia would have been, they're going to end up in the ACC or the SEC. That's going to happen. Watch. And the only reason for that is because of Washington, D.C. That's their TV market. Okay. Yeah. That West Virginia is going to get that because of that. I guarantee you. But the market is the issue. And that's what they start looking at. You look at Houston, that's like the third largest market in the country.
I will say, though, Baylor does offer not a very
I like Baylor. Don't get me wrong. I'm not even bad enough for
basketball. They do offer basketball.
They do. But what does that have to do with this football contract? Because it doesn't really matter.
Well, I think they don't bring in.
They might have went and got them for the basketball part in the Pac-12. They should have done it anyway.
It's like you've got Kansas who offers basketball but less football.
Hey, you take over a team just like I was saying about Cal to the Big Ten. You do it because it lops the head off of the competition. Period. It's over now. Yeah. You just do that. Yeah. You have to do it. So if you're the Pac-12 and you're trying to kill the Big 12 last year when they could have, you take 3 or 4 teams out of there that complete, and now you've lost 6 all of a sudden out of 9. What would have helped Texas and
Oklahoma a ton?
You're
we
dead
wouldn't
meat
have to buy out. If the Big 12 had a dissolve, we wouldn't have had to buy out. We would have just been able to dip. We'd be in the
that being said, though, as much as I was hoping that they were going to go next year or for sure by 24, I think at this point it's better for them. Except
for both of us.
I think so too. But I mean, I'll be honest with you, the competition in the Big 12 in the next 2 years is going to be really hard. It's going to be real.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a part of
UCF is real.
Coming in.
UCF is real, and Cincinnati is real, and so is BYU. I know BYU's fallen off later in the season. BYU is not a pushover. They are not a pushover team. I'm telling you, they're not. They'll turn it around next season.
SMU game, because goodness gracious, that was going terrible.
Was it? Who was winning?
Dude, the game at halftime they had it was 77-63. SMU won 77-63.
Oh my God. 140 points.
Houston's quarterback, 527 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Mordecai, y'all's backup, from last year. 379 yards, 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
Holy crap.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. That's
Houston
awesome.
lost by 14 points and their quarterback threw 3 picks. Oh my goodness.
Crazy stuff. Folks,
what a game.
We appreciate everybody who's stuck with us. So I think only we got Logan left. And look, man, I appreciate you coming on. We've gone probably a little longer than we should have. I don't care. I like talking college football, so it's all good.
Yes, sir.
But for everybody who hasn't been nobody's listening to this. It's just Logan. You're already one of my subs, man. I appreciate it. I will go ahead and put you guys out there too as well. Folks, take a look and go and check out these guys. They're new on the platform as far as that goes, but I had a great time with them on their show. Lone Star College Football. Christian Herrington, Logan Patterson. These guys are, they're talking good stuff every week. And so go and check them out, man. It's obviously at Lone Star _CFB on Twitter, and then Lone Star College Football there on that YouTube platform. Folks, do me a favor. Hit the subscriber button. We have hit our watch hours time by a lot. We're actually at almost 5,000 hours. We need the subs. If we get to that, we can finally monetize. But if you want to help out the channel anyway, without, just doing what you normally do, if you need what am I talking about? Oh yeah. So if you're looking for the gear that you buy anyway, we have a partnership with Fanatics. All you got to do is actually the web address is in the comments below, but you can go to our website, hofmedia.us/fanatics. That's hofmedia.us/fanatics. All you got to do is just click on the Fanatics logo at the bottom there. Go shop as normal. You get up to 65% off everything in the store just by going through our link. It is a better deal than what you get even just by going through a normal link and Fanatics has got great deals anyway. We get up to 65% off of everything. For instance, everybody was loving and looking forward to buying one of those sweatshirts that Venables and them were wearing last week. I sold a bunch of them off of there at $20 difference of what you were having it online everywhere else. So, great deals on all it doesn't matter who you're a fan of. Even Texas fans can take, Christian, you can take advantage, bro. Take advantage.
Are they selling these jerseys on Fanatics now? The NIL?
They are. They are. The new
I would say these things are good. Like the quality of them is good. Actually, and I know you're logging off. I bought the first ever made NIL jersey for the Texas Longhorns.
Did you? The first one?
I had the first one ever made. I was first in line. We got to the stadium hours early, and I went and stood by the shop, the only shop at the stadium they were selling them at. And I went and got the first ever NIL jersey, and it's Xavier Worthy.
That's cool. That's cool.
There's no
Xavier Worthy's a bad dude, man. Yeah,
but it'll never be worth anything for nobody will ever believe that it's the first ever made. But I know it. I know deep.
Yeah, and especially since you're actually wearing the thing, it should be in the freaking frame or something on your wall. But I get it. I don't blame you.
Couldn't afford 2 of them, so
right.
One.
Yeah, but, hey man, they're and that's the thing is though. 25% off a lot of things like that. You get 65% off everything else. Big deal there. I would be remiss to say if I didn't tell everybody that and I'm an Air Force veteran, so I'm gonna pump this a little bit. U.S. Air Force, the Air Force Academy won the Commander-in-Chief's trophy today, beating Army. So that away Air Force.
I bet the under in that game, and y'all pulled through. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no doubt. It's I enjoyed watching that. I was watching that one this afternoon a little bit, and it was always fun to watch that. But hey, and they win it most years, and they always talk about the Army Navy game, but and Air Force gets no love, but they win the Commander-in-Chief's trophy more times than anybody else. So anyway, guys, we appreciate you being with us for the time that you have. We will see you on the next one.
Yes, sir.
No, I'm going to stick with you here. Just